First language acquisition, what it looks like. This is the first of 3 videos about first language acquisition. The first 2 focus on what we know it looks like when children learn their primary language. The third video will very briefly highlight some of the theories of how language learning occurs from birth. Researchers find significant similarities around the world when it comes to how children learn their first language. However, there are some cultures that are different. So I want to point out that mostly I'm referring to the United States in this video series, and the majority of this is adapted from Lightbound and Spada's book, How Languages Are Learned. The first sounds out of a baby are various types of crying. An experienced mother knows whether the baby is crying because they are angry, hungry, or tired. This begins the communication process. Then babies start building their mouth muscles and experiment by making different sounds. While the sounds don't form actual words, the baby will use these sounds for communication. Also, they can hear even small differences, such as the difference between ba and pa. 1-year-olds know a handful of basic words that are repeated to them frequently, like bye-bye and no. 2-year-olds expand their vocabulary to where they pronounce 50 words or more. Then from that point, they start combining words in various formats and patterns to communicate. The patterns are not always correct, but they are almost never nonsensical. In other words, even 2- and 3-year-old children combine words in ways that have meaning to them, and they expect to have meaning to their listeners. From ages 2 to 4, children acquire certain aspects of grammar in predictable patterns. So let's look at some of those. First, let's consider grammatical morphemes. What is a morpheme? Well, it's the smallest part of a word that has meaning. So in the word meaning, there are 2 morphemes, mean and ing. When we consider various morphemes, kids will learn them in a specific order, although they can relapse and begin making mistakes with words or morphemes that they learned several months ago. Children begin with present progressive. I am running. She is walking. Then they start realizing that there's a difference between dog and dogs. Next comes irregular past, such as went or fought. This may seem odd since it's a couple stages later that they figure out the pattern of regular past. The difference is that at this stage they've learned the specific word for something in the past, probably from their parents. Later they're able to realize that there is a pattern. At that point, they may appear to decline in their grammar ability because they're likely to say goed and fighted when they already have learned went and fought. Again, it's the difference between understanding the abstract application of a pattern and knowing individual words connected to circumstances. In between these past tense stages, they learn linking verbs, so they can say clown is happy or dog is bad. They also start using articles, the dog, or ice cream. After regular past, they begin applying third-person singular, such as mom plays or dog bites. Lastly, they pick up auxiliary verbs, especially do. Again, they may appear to relapse in their grammar and say something like mom do plays or dog do bite. Another language aspect that's learned in predictable stages is negation. At first they learn no, and they'll use it for everything. No toys may mean that they don't or can't find their toys, or it could be telling someone else they can't use the toys. No is the ultimate multi-purpose word at first. Then they learn that a negative is usually put in front of a verb. You no toys, or mommy don't touch. The next stage they start embedding negative into more complex sentences, but the negative will not yet change depending upon tenses in first, second, or third person. Finally, they can use the negative form of auxiliary verbs correctly. For example, they use didn't and doesn't correctly instead of using don't for every negation of do. So, in this video, we looked at language acquisition from birth to 3 or 4 years old. We examined in detail the stages of grammatical morphemes and negation. We will continue with this age period in the next video while moving up to the initial school years.